All right, here we go. Talk about some changes in weather. We're gonna hop right into it. If you want a heading, have it be air masses, and then write both of these things down. An air mass is a large body of air that can move. The type of weather an air mass brings depends on where the air mass is coming from. One thing we have to realize is that air is always moving, okay? So it's not like our atmosphere is just sitting there. There's always something moving, something pushing it, something pushing against each other. Things are rising, falling, circling. Something is always happening with our air. So we have air masses moving around, and depending on where they come from determines what our weather will be like. Okay, if we look at this here, if an air mass comes here, this is where we're going to get a lot in the winter. Okay, it's going to be cold and dry, okay, because it's coming from up north. Okay, you're going to hear on the weather, they're going to talk a lot about like Canadian air mass or a polar air mass, okay, things like that. That means it's going to be really cold, and because it's really cold and because it came from over land, it's going to be dry. Remember, cold air doesn't hold water very well, okay? And then the fact that it's coming from over land means it's going to be dry also, okay? Here it's going to be cool and wet because it's coming from over the ocean, okay? Here you'd probably guess that it'd be warm and wet. Down here, warm and wet, and then cool and wet here, okay? Because there's some ocean near there. So depending on where it comes from, will determine what our weather is going to be like. In the winter, we're always hoping for south winds. We're in South Dakota here. We want south winds because that means things are going to be warmer. We don't like the Canadian polar air masses. Go ahead and write this down. Air masses are always moving. Air masses may bump into each other and cause precipitation. Air masses are always moving, and they may hit into each other. They might collide and cause precipitation. I do want you to write this down and underline front, the word front. So the place where two air masses meet is called a front. The place where two air masses meet is called a front. Now, you've probably heard of warm front, cold front, things like that. And you might wonder why they call them that. Well, write this down. If I'm going too fast, you can always pause. Fronts are named after the air mass that is the strongest or moving the fastest. So, when two air masses collide, let's say one's warm and one's cold, whichever one is bigger and faster and does more of the pushing is what we're going to call it. So, if we look here, go ahead and write down warm front. I also somewhere I'd like you to jot down this little symbol here. I might ask you that on a test. Okay, a warm front occurs when a warm air mass moves over a cold air mass. Usually causes rain or gentle precipitation. So we have a warm air mass and a cold air mass hitting. The warm one is bigger and stronger and faster, so it's going to push the cold air mass. And we're going to call that a warm front. So when they say a warm front is moving in, that means there's warm, there's cold, and the warm is pushing. Okay? Now the warm air mass is going to go over the cold air mass because remember, warm air is less dense, so it's going to rise. Now, this can cause rain a lot of times because that warm air mass is usually wet. The cold air mass is usually dry. Well, when they hit, the warm air mass is going to cool off a little bit, and it's going to reach its dew point, and it's going to condense and fall as rain. So if it's warm and wet and it hits a cold air mass, that warm and wet is going to cool off and cause rain. Okay, so just like this, we get the warm, we got the cold, not the best drawing in the world, but when they collide, this one's going to push that way, okay, because it is a warm air mass, and the warm is pushing over the top of the cold. On the other hand, if we have a cold air mass, and make sure that you draw this here, we got the little blue triangles on a line there is going to signify a cold front. A cold front occurs when a cold air mass moves under a warm air mass. So they collide, and the cold is stronger, it's bigger, it's faster, and it pushes the warm. This can produce violent storms, lightning, tornadoes, thunderstorms, stuff like that. So we're going to name it after the more powerful one. And whenever you see this, you see a cold front. A lot of times they have a C there, okay? Or the half circles with the red half circles would be a warm front, and they'd have a W. Okay, so they collide. The cold pushes the warm. Remember, the warm is more dense, it's heavier, so it's going to go under the cold, or the cold is, it's going to go under the warm. Let's stop there for today.